right, so we are here with an old friend, Michael Giannini, the Chief of Customer Engagement at Quality Importers. Welcome, brother.
Erik, what a pleasure. Thank you so much on Cigar Snob for being here. I mean, congratulations to you. You've just had a monumental celebration. Tell everybody, because I'm excited for you.
No, that show's about you, man. But yeah, we celebrated 18 years in May.
And that's how long we've known each other.
And that's
so
exactly.
I remember when you started this, and I'm like, man, this is so cool, and here you are. So here we are.
I don't know if you thought this was so cool, right?
Well,
everybody thought we were kind of crazy with the models and the stuff. But in fact, we'll talk about him in a second. But I have a funny, story with Ernie Perez-Carrillo. When we first pitched him, which you were probably there at that time, we first pitched him to advertise in the magazine, and he tells me, and he admits to this, so I'm not speaking out of turn, but he says, Erik, this is a family industry. Like, no one's gonna want to see, these models on the cover and this and that. So fast forward a couple years ago, we were in Germany at the trade show, and he tells me, "You remember when I told you that dumb thing?" I was such an idiot. So,
well, it worked,
he's
right?
A great guy. He's a great guy.
Congratulations. I'm so
Thank you, brother.
honored to be here with you.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit. So you have 42 years.
42 years
in this business.
And I'm not that old.
No. So just give me some ages. So when did you actually start at what age? How old were you when you started in this business?
All right, so I'm going to give my age away. Actually, I started when I was 20.
Wow. So 20 years old, you were in college. And you
I actually graduated college because the way my birthday hits, I graduate you should be 21. I graduated when I was 20. So what's interesting about what my path has been, and it's always, make a plan, God laughs. I had a plan, he laughed, and he's put me on this path. So my whole thing is, I grew up in Philly. My parents were right off the boat from Italy. Always wanted to. I played sports. To this day, I still do. I lift weights, and hey, I need a hockey stick. So my parents are like, "Listen, kid, we got food on the table, clothes on your back."
This is an immigrant family. Yeah.
Immigrant family.
Yeah. We're gonna give you the essentials, dude.
Exactly.
If you want to play hockey, yeah.
And there's no hockey in Italy at that time, and baseball and football, and baseball. So I got a job at a restaurant, and I became a pot washer. It was probably one of the worst jobs because the chefs just like screwing with you, so they burn stuff just so you can bust your ass.
Spend an hour trying to clean it.
Yeah. So, being an Italian family, they were cooking American food, so I was always quite curious to see. So my curiosity was, "Chef, what are you doing?" So the chef actually saw I had an interest in cooking, so he'd teach me some stuff, and then I got promoted to a dishwasher, and then in an inevitable day, when I was 18 years old, I got called by the manager, "Giannini, you know how to cook the recipes you're cooking tonight?" So I was the head guy. I must be that great. Well, I come to find out the chef and a young lady were having a little fun. They got fired. That's how I got elevated. So I thought my career was going to be in the kitchen. So my parents, being off the boat, you got to get an education, so I had to go to college. So started as an accounting major. Didn't really like that so much. No offense to accounting majors. I'd be like, one day they're going to find me with a bullet in my head. It just wasn't for me. But I had an interest in sports and, learning how to be the best you can, the mindset. So, and I lift weights to this day. So I went as a psych major in a bio.
You're always in great shape, dude.
Well, thank you. Well, I'm not always, but.
Dude, you are like the original, well-dressed, dapper cigar guy.
Oh, thank you.
Always been in good shape.
Thank you.
There's been some times that you've lost your way and come back. Let's say that. I mean, some people will Google this.
Yeah.
So.
That's my brother.
There were times that you lost your way, but for I don't know how many years have you been back in this shape again?
Probably close to 12 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, it was like, whoa, Mike is back.
Yeah.
All right, so continue. Sorry to interrupt.
So one of the things was, thinking that so I started teaching mentally ill people at an institution. Working on my master's degree. And I'm like, okay, so my next big goal was I wanted to get a PhD in psychology. But in my mind, from all the great psychoanalysts and psychiatrists and psychologists, I'm like, you know what? I need a tweed jacket and I need a pipe.
I find that so funny.
Yeah.
That was the thing that
was just my image of seeing these guys in pictures and books, and I'm like, that's what I need to do. So I actually went to a local cigar shop. And every Friday, Eric.
What was the name of the shop?
It was called Tobacco Country.
Country?
In the Neshaminy Mall. It's not there anymore.
Neshaminy Mall.
Neshaminy Mall. Bensalem, Pennsylvania. Yep.
Bensalem.
Yep.
Cool.
So the young guy there, Tom DeTono, he asked me one day, I need a guy to blend pipe tobacco. And he's like, you're always well-dressed. What do you do? And I'm like, well, listen, I teach during the day, working on my master's at night. I cook on the weekends, basically put 40 hours in from Friday through Sunday because it's the only time I had. He's like, I just need you for 2 nights. And that was like the realization of, ooh, I really like this. So
you started blending pipe tobacco, even though you really, but
there were
you've
recipes.
Been smoking for like 3 weeks.
Yeah. Well, actually, yeah, exactly. So, I learned the different tobaccos. We had recipes, but then I would come up with my own blends. And here as a young guy helping much older gentlemen coming in, I learned about cigars. At this time, Eric, but there was no magazines like yourself around. The knowledge you had to acquire was through salespeople buying books, which I did, and I read them rapidly, and I learned a lot about the industry. So I was a young guy, selling older guys this, and my parents would be like, you put all these hours in schooling, and you wanted to be a chef, and now you're working in a mall as a clerk. Yeah, but I love this. Like, well, what are you going to do with all that? Like, this is what I love to do.
Yeah.
So I followed my instincts. We ended up buying I was a partner in a retail shop, and then I became an independent manufacturer's rep. And the funniest story is we had an older gentleman come in who was our independent rep, and one day he says to my partner at the time, he's like, hey, I want to get out of the industry. Now, what's interesting about the 80s was it was dead. I mean, older guys were smoking cigars. You didn't see a younger generation. You didn't see guys smoking pipes. I mean, I was a young guy smoking a pipe. My friends thought I was out of my mind. I'm like, guys, you don't know what you're missing. So what was unique about that was, we had more cojones than brands like, let's buy it. So I became the road guy. So when I wasn't in the shops, I would literally travel 3,000 miles, 3 weeks on the road by myself. First time I ever left Philly in a car.
Here's my question.
Yes.
Because did you even know how to drive? Because in Philly, a lot of people,
Yeah, I don't think people in Philly know how to drive, or New York or LA. Yeah. So, but
you went. I mean, that's all.
I mean, 3,000 miles. So literally, I would leave Philly and I'd go all through the South, work both coasts of Florida, and work my way home with a calling card and a map. Literally stopping at phone booths, trying to make appointments, trying to meet with retailers.
This was before Google Maps, before MapQuest, before any of that.
All that.
These were big maps that you had to drive around with, right?
Yeah. I'm really good at reading maps at that point.
And then and the hotels.
Hotels used to be.
It's not like you could just go to Expedia and pick your hotel for the night.
No. I mean, I had 2 books. I would stay at Fairfield Inn and Hampton Inns. They had these very thick books, and I'd look where I was going and where I end up, and I'm like, all right, I guess I'm going to stay here because I could get a free breakfast. I could park my car right on the first floor, unload my stuff for the day, and then pack it the next day and get in and out easy.
So let's shift a little. Let's shift gears. You've been in this business for 42 years, and you've had these gentlemen that have sort of presented a path for you that you didn't know existed. And they've put this path in front of you and it's changed your life, right? So Tom DeTona, he presented you with this opportunity to blend pipe tobacco.
Yep.
And sort of brought you into this business.
Exactly.
And then, but it's been 42 years.
Yeah.
So who else, what's the next person that changed your life that way, impacted it that way?
So someone that Manny Ferraro, who's no longer with us.
Awesome guy, man.
Awesome guy. Great Philly guy. Just a soul of the earth kind of cat. Also Italian.
Yep. Also Italian.
Yep. So that's 2 Italians in a row.
Except this guy was an ex-policeman.
Yes.
He was an
great
awesome
stories,
guy, man.
Eric. I'm sure you've heard him. So he was another great guy that mentored me and a path. And actually, he led me to the gentleman that I revere as one of my mentors, Ernesto Perez-Carrillo. So because of Manny Ferraro,
So you met Ernie through Manny?
Through Manny, yes.
How was that? How did that connection happen?
So I wanted to do more in the industry at this point.
By the way, Manny Ashton
Ashton, yes. Great company, great Philly company, great brand. The Levine family, just wonderful people.
Yep.
So Manny, basically I was trying to do more in the industry. There was no room to move up. Manny, first time in my life, he's like, you're not really happy and I see you doing other things. So let me get you down this path. Ernesto was looking for a guy. My name got passed to him and gosh, I think it was like 1998 or something like that.
This is Little Havana.
Little Havana, little brand.
So you went from Philly?
Philly, and I actually moved to Tampa when I worked with Ashton because I couldn't stand the weather anymore. It snowed 3.5 feet of snow, and I was actually in Florida as a broker at the time. 80 degrees like it is now, a little bit warmer, in January. And I'm like, this is a different side of the world.
This is pretty awesome.
Yeah, this is really awesome.
Yeah.
So I ended up actually going home and got hit with an nor'easter, 3.5 feet of snow. I couldn't find my car, and I was shoveling snow every hour now. And I'm cursing like a banshee. I'm like, I gotta get out of here. I can't do it this way. There's a better life somewhere else. So I got to move to Tampa, which I absolutely loved, and worked there for a period of time. But everybody knew me at the time, Eric. So
yeah, I mean the business was very small.
Very, very small. I mean, it was a business that you did out of sheer love and passion for cigars and pipe tobacco and what we do now.
Random question: do you still smoke a pipe?
I absolutely do.
Yeah?
I have a collection of about 150 or more.
No kidding.
More in the wintertime, I gravitate towards a pipe. I couldn't
get into it. One of my mentors, Jose Oliva, he gifted me a pipe years and years ago, and he gave me the rundown on how to do it. And I couldn't get past that tongue burn situation. I just couldn't get past it.
Well, that's all blending in tobacco that you're choosing as well.
Yeah.
If you're getting, more aromatic pipe tobaccos, you got more sugar content in it, which actually burns, and that's how you get tongue bite. What was unique about that, though, is, being a chef and really having a great palate, and then, moving to a pipe and be able to distinguish the different tobaccos to cigar tobacco. It's unique because as you see a lot of fire-cured tobacco being used, there's a bit of that used in pipe tobacco. So it wasn't foreign to me to be able to taste different things, but it also changes your palate. Because, when you're smoking cigars and you move to a pipe, you get a different nuance.
Yep.
So you can pick up different flavors off of that. That's why I like. That's why.
Again, random question: how do you feel about? Did you get to try the Steve Saka Stillwell Star?
I did.
What did you think of that?
Very, very unique. Very unique.
Right?
Yes, very unique.
No, for us, that cigar is funky because we love it.
Yep.
But we can't put it anywhere in terms of like a rating. There's no place to put it, and he understands. He's like, yeah, I know it doesn't fit.
And that's okay.
That's kind of the thing about that cigar. It doesn't fit anywhere.
But
it's a premium cigar with pipe tobacco in it.
And I love that. But there used to be pipe tobacco cigars back in the day. And I remember a brand called John T's, which I actually sold, which was all pipe tobacco.
So it was a
pipe
premium,
tobacco.
Not really a premium cigar, but maybe a premium.
It was in a white tube. I'll never forget this. It was in a white tube and had pipe tobacco in it. And you'd smoke it, and it was like, I'm smoking a pipe in a cigar.
Yeah. Because the not to make this a show about pipes, but the issue with the pipes for me is that, man, this is just like from a practicality standpoint, this is the sweet spot. You know, you can take your time, but you don't have to like be so on top of it like you do have to with a pipe. I get it because it's part of that is what makes the pipe like a contemplative thing. But yeah, the delivery of this is just so perfect that I get it. Having pipe in a cigar is great.
But the thing that really attracted me to pipes was I actually like freehand pipes. And I've always been an artistic guy, so to actually see the beauty of a freehand pipe, which is basically not a billiard shape, a regular standard shape, these are actually free form, which means that when you're actually carving out of a piece of briar, the briar is going to tell you what that pipe needs to be, which is kind of like cigars.
Yeah.
So the artistry of that has always been in my bailiwick, and I've always been attracted to that. And I didn't realize it until years later. Like I'm a watch guy.
What's that a word like bailiwick? I think that's the first time that's been mentioned on the Cigar Snob podcast. I haven't. Can you confirm?
Yes.
Yeah.
There we go. It's confirmed. It's unique because actually I've actually had the opportunities to actually have pipes made for me and watch the whole process. And I always thought it was BS, but actually watching it, as you're carving a shape that you want, And then as you get into it, the material tells you, yeah, it's not going to be that. You got to adjust and you got to do something.
That's
different.
a great parallel, because that's like your ideas of, I'm going to be a psychoanalyst or I'm going to be a chef, and just, like you say, God laughing at you and saying, no, buddy, this is going to be your path.
Yeah.
So then let's
rolling,
end the
right?
pipe talk.
Yeah. Okay.
So then Ernesto Perez-Carrillo, now this is like a major sort of new pathway in the business, right? Because now you get to see how cigars are actually made. So like everyone else, right? You walk into a cigar factory for the first time, you're like, oh, I thought I knew what a cigar was. No, you learn so much that first time you walk into a cigar manufacturer or a cigar factory, and you see how it's actually made. And you get to if you think about it a little bit, you're like, oh my God, I really didn't know anything about that.
I knew absolutely nothing. I thought I knew everything.
You sold a ton of them.
I sold a ton of them. And the funny thing is, when I was a broker, I would drive by Cayo and I'd see people lined up trying to buy Ernesto cigars. And my friends would say to me, hey, make sure you get some La Gloria Cabanas from Ernesto. Bro, I'm not standing in line. I'm just not standing in line for this. And then I get to meet the guy and I'm like, oh my God, I'm meeting the guy. But when I walked into a factory, my curiosity when I was a kid in a restaurant was, we're destined to go talk about this, and I'm over here like, what are you doing? Like, I'm watching this person roll a cigar. Like, I've never seen that before in my life. But to actually see that, and then, well, how did they figure out what different leaves they need to put in there? And
correct.
So that was my education of asking him a million questions, and he was such a great mentor. He stopped me. He's like, okay, let's start with this, and then we'll work backwards to kind of show you that. So I learned a lot about that. But, the theme for me has always been, learning how to cook, using different ingredients, understanding how to put them together, and then just getting out of the way. Let the ingredients speak for themselves. So he taught me a ton about his process and how he thinks about tobacco. And to this day, I always say, man, you're like a great gourmet chef that searches the planet for different ingredients, and then you just put them together in a way that nobody's really seen before.
Yeah.
Is kind of what I learned from him. And it was great. The other guys that I got, my history that I kind of like brush off a little bit, but when it comes to life, like I got to work with Benji Menendez.
Yeah.
I got to work side by side with Benji. Amazing. Estelo Padron, who's no longer with us.
Wow.
Got to work with Manny Quesada. Got to work with people at Davidoff, got to work at Hoyda, Nicaragua with Jose Martinez and Dr. Cuenca. And the list goes on. AJ Fernandez, another guy I got to work with. So I got, my exposure working with these cats is like, wow, man. Yeah. As you reflect back on it, which I don't really
It's a bit of a who's who.
It's a who's who of guys that I've actually been in their factories and worked on projects with them has been very, very unique. And
so then on the business side, you also, you had worked with Alex Goldman.
Yes.
And so that kind of leads you to where we are today.
Yeah.
Just to kind of get us to today.
So today,
how does that go down?
So funny, I was living in California, locked down in California during COVID, basically retired, hanging out in Malibu, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, why would you do that situation? Well, the California COVID was crazy.
It was crazy, but I had the opportunity to hang out there. And actually, I'll never forget, one day I actually just got done working out. And I'd walked 10 miles, so, that's basically how I was spending my time. And I actually looked on LinkedIn one day and bored out of my mind and exhausted, and I saw Alex Goldman, who I'd known forever, fourth-generation tobacconist, legendary in the industry, had come to Quality Importers. And like, well, you're a premium guy. What are you doing in an accessory company? So I reached out to him out of curiosity. He's like, hey, I'm looking for a guy. So he said, call me tonight. So we talked for an hour. He's like, hey, you need to talk to the owner on Friday. This is a Wednesday. Talk to the owner on Friday, Michael Giordano, the owner of Quality Importers and founder. That hour turned into 2 hours. And he's like, get your butt down here to Florida. So I flew down on a Tuesday, spent the entire day here on a Wednesday. And by the time I got back to LA, I had a position. The unique thing about this was in 2017, 2018, the dates are getting a little crazy. I was actually here working for another cigar company, working with my sales guys, and we popped in here. And we ended up leaving here with a bunch of cool swag customized for the brands. And all my guys were taking it. I'm like, guys, this is not for you. This is for our customers.
Yeah.
And coming back here, I'd seen how big this operation had expanded. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't even recognize this place. And I saw the progression. So here I am on my couch in LA on a Thursday, and I'm like, what they talked about, I had an opportunity. And I'm like, wow, I had opportunities to go back into premium, but I'm like, you know what, I've always loved swag. So whenever I would do projects or launch brands, I always was looking for swag. But what I liked about this organization was a lot of the stuff I had, I didn't realize came from quality importers, because I've collected this stuff over the course of my career. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go to a number one. Yeah, I'm out. So part of the reason was California had gotten very strange. And this is the free state, so I got to move here. The other cool thing is there's no state income tax here. So I got a raise immediately by sitting in an airplane flying here. And I joined the organization 2.5 years ago. So it's been an incredible thing. What I loved about this operation is I knew Alex. He has a whole different expertise. He's our president and COO. I got to hear Michael Giordano's story and his wife, Marilyn, where he's been basically an entrepreneur. I mean, he started with $15K in his mom's living room with one humidor that we still sell today, the El Rey, and built a business and has acquired brands, 12 of the greatest brands in the industry over the course of, we're going to celebrate 25 years next year.
Incredible.
So I was really drawn to that because you hear stories about guys doing that, but here's a guy that did it.
Yep. No, it's impressive. It's incredibly impressive. So, and to mention some of the brands, so we're talking about Zycar, Palio, Humidor Supreme, Cigar Caddy, Stinky. What am I leaving out?
You're leaving out Big Easy Tobacco Company, which is basically inexpensive cutters. Every cutter you've ever seen in your life, we carry those. Pipe stuff we sell as well. Kind of getting back to my roots. So every accessory that you ever want in the industry, we're a one-stop shop. We've got, as you can see here, we've got cigar towers, furniture. We've got everything.
Yeah.
So
and then now there's, for the guy or girl who needs or wants cigar accessories, but doesn't have a retailer nearby where they can purchase these things.
Yep.
There's Cigar Things. That they can go access the entire product line, right?
Exactly.
Everything that Quality Importers makes and sells can be accessed through cigarthings.com. So that's pretty cool.
It's very cool.
And then there's Conspiracy.
Yep.
Which is, that's really, I have no idea what the conversation was like when you started to join, but I have to imagine part of it was, hey, we're going to work on a premium cigar, right?
Yep.
Otherwise, why would they bring the premium cigar guy in?
Well, that's an interesting conversation. So when I first interviewed with Alex, I'm like, bro, we got to do a cigar line. He's like, yes, I want to do a cigar line. But we weren't ready to do it.
Yeah, both of you guys are premium.
We're both cigar guys. So for us, it was kind of neat. Michael Giordano actually was selling cigars, and he has some brands called Colt that he actually had probably 5-6 years ago. But he didn't really have premium guys that understood the business like we understood the business. So that was my first conversation. So I got a tap on my shoulder. It was like, Alex is like, you need to come to my office. This is a year ago. And I'm like, oh God, what did I do? I'm always in trouble for something. I don't know what I did, but okay. And he's like, hey, remember what we talked about when you first joined? Well, we're going to do it. What, we doing a cigar? He's like, yes. You know who we're going to? Absolutely. I'll go make the call. And that was the conversation. So I literally... For
those of you that haven't caught on, the call was to Ernesto Perez-Carrillo.
Yeah. And basically the conversation, Ernesto picks up the phone. He goes, what's going on, Big Daddy? That's what we call each other, Big Daddy. And I'm like, hey, man, we're doing a cigar line here with Quality Importers. He's like, just want to know if you're interested in doing it. Yes. With you? Yes. You want to know what it is? No. Okay. Cool. All right, well, all right, good, we're in. So I went back and Alex, we're going. So what's unique out of that is, Alex picked a brand out of our IP. And it was Conspiracy, which is basically a brand that we had under Michael Giordano's Colt brand. And so we started a process, literally last September. And so, this is, I think, when you're good, we were able to pull the blend off pretty quickly, which is always funny. Because the stories behind it of actually trying to put the blends together is unique. So You know, it's like, all right, Ernesto, what do you want? Like, Ernesto, I want stuff nobody's used. Okay, that's always my standard line. And he's like, okay, I'll put some blends together. But I gave him some direction of what we wanted to create. And for me, it's always, Erik, it's always been about flavor. Because I've learned in my science background in cooking, like I want to cook this dish, but if you don't have the right ingredients, so it doesn't turn out the way you want it to be. So we're working with a cigar master, Hall of Famer. I worked with him. This was my third project with him, with Alex's palate and a bunch of other people around here that we really trusted their palates. And we just kind of guided where we wanted to go. So he's like, all right, I got blends ready. Now this is where it gets fascinating. We went down, we smoked for 2 hours, and like we didn't like what we wanted to come up with. So, but it was a test, okay? Because Ernesto always does this to me, and probably will never admit it, but he always tests my palate, and he loves my palate. But I always tell him the God's honest truth. Like, no, this is not what we want. And I don't care what's in the blend. I don't care what tobaccos they are. I don't care what the wrapper is per se. I just want to taste it blind. Because I learned as soon as you observe something, you're going to change the way you look at it.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. That's why ratings have to be done blind. That's why.
Always, right?
Yeah.
And you guys are great at that, right? Because
we even do it like on the podcast, which is where this is airing. We taste in the podcast. We know what the cigar is, but we taste the spirit that we're pairing with it blind.
yes,
So my sister will bring over 3 or 4 spirits of the same kind, and then we'll taste those blind and see which one pairs up better with the cigar without knowing what it is. And invariably, every time you're surprised by, wow, I thought I loved that spirit, and it turns out, yeah, it's still good, but I love this other one better.
yes,
When I was drinking it blind.
yes,
Or vice versa, right?
yep,
So it's very interesting. I'm a big advocate for tasting things blind. It's hard for a consumer because the guys at the or the girl, they're at a cigar store, and they're not. It's kind of tough. You got to trust the retailer. Hey,
absolutely.
Listen, grab a cigar from there. Don't tell me what it is and give it to me, and then charge me.
Yeah,
it's tough. But for us, we're lucky that way that we get to do that in the office, just about every day.
What was unique about that? When I worked with Ernesto, I had a really great palate, and I would jokingly say to people, "You shouldn't share my palate with Lloyd's of London." So, a story I may have told, or you've not heard this story. So, I had a friend of mine that I was into potato chips at the time, and we were arguing about what the best potato chip was. So I said to him, "Bro, this is the best potato chip you ever had." He's like, "I don't believe you." So he's like, "Okay, you know what? You think you got a great palate? This is what we're going to do. We're going to send somebody out. We're going to get 4 different brands of potato chips. We're going to put them in bowls. And for $100, whoever picks them 4 for 4 gets the $100. Okay. You want to lose $100? Just give me the money right now. So we actually went in a room. We had a whole audience, and we were tasting potato chips. And I hit it 4 for 4. He hit it 4 for 2. I'm like, give me my money. I told you. So...
What is the best potato chip in your eyes?
I think Utz's vinegar and salt. If you've ever had.
Oh, okay. So you were going
those. Yeah,
right.
This was back in the day when.
I thought you were going on the plain, salt chip. No, you went salt vinegar. That was kind of cheating.
Love those, but it didn't matter what the potato chip was because I have such a great memory of flavors in my head from being a chef and growing up Italian with food. It's just ingrained in you that you just remember stuff, which is really helpful when you're blending cigars. So
we haven't really said. So we have the conspiracy, and it comes in a natural and a Maduro.
Yes.
Right. What are what are the sizes? What are the prices? Just so that we can.
So we ended up with an Ecuadorian Connecticut for the natural, and then we went with a Mexican San Andres. So we actually like those 2 wrappers. The fillers, we're not disclosing what they are.
Okay.
We did very simple. All our experience, we learned what sells. 5x50, 6x52, 6x60. So we really wanted to just go down that path because we're an accessory company that sells cigars. And really what we're trying to do is show people how we would come to life with a brand. What's unique about this is we used our own swag. So we have our own humidors that we've designed 3 different designs for it. We've come up with a perfect cut with Cigar that we branded with Conspiracy, 3 different looks. We've done inexpensive cutters, we've done ashtrays, we've done lighters. So the idea was, my entire career, and this is the genius of Alex, how do you create an event kit every day rather than having a personality in on a Saturday or a Friday and doing an event where you bring the swag in? We already built it in there. So if you buy a humidor, we're giving you the humidor. You buy 20 cigars of any of the sizes, we give you a free humidor and we give you a cutter. And that's part of what the retail is going to give you. So you're basically buying that.
You buy, they come in bundles?
They come in bundles of 10. So you buy 20 cigars.
Yeah, so you buy, let's say, 10 of the Ecuador and Ecuador, Connecticut, and 10 of the Maduro. Yeah. And you're going to leave that day with a humidor.
A humidor and a perfect, Zycar perfect cutter.
And what's the price point on the cigars?
Price points are $12.99, $13.99, $14.99. Perfect pricing.
And yeah, that's like.
But you get swag with it. That's
today's sweet spot.
You get swag with it.
But you get swag. So at what's the lowest level that you get swag at? Just so I understand that.
So if you buy one cigar,
yep,
you get one cutter for free.
Okay.
You buy 10 cigars, you get a travel humidor, and you get a paleo cutter.
Like a cigar caddy?
No, actually, it's a little 10-count box.
Okay.
Which we'll show in the B-roll.
Yep.
You get a little travel humidor, and you get a paleo cutter. So you're getting about $50, $60 in free goods.
And then you buy 20 cigars.
You get a humidor and a cutter. So that's about $120 in free goods. You buy one cigar, Eric, we're going to give you a cutter valued at $5 for free.
That's awesome.
So any way that you buy any of our cigars, we're giving you swag right out of the gate.
That's awesome. That's excellent. So if they want to look for more information about Conspiracy, is there a dedicated website?
Conspiracy Cigars. You can go check this out. Yes.
We'll put the address on the bottom.
Yeah, please. You'll find us. We're getting ready to launch it. We previewed it at our trade show in March, and right now we're getting ready to ship the product out.
Speaking of trade shows, for the retailers that happen to be watching this, there's also, you guys are having your own trade show.
We're having our own trade. This tiny little, and I'm saying this in a very humble way, quality importers, we've been very innovative. As you can see, we've got all this great swag and we've got the cigar brand. And so we thought about, because of the way the trade shows fell this year, we wanted to create our own trade show in September. So we actually partnered up with some great cigar brands. We've got La Aurora, E161, Crown Heads, Villiger, Gurkha. So we're putting a trade show together just for retailers from around the country, September 7th from 11 to 4 here at Western Florida. In our back, we're going to have tents, we're going to have music, we're going to have food, and it's basically a trade show for our retailers for September to capture the sales for the holidays.
And again, if you're watching this and you're a consumer, this particular conversation, that is
just
a
for
trade
retailers.
show. That's only for trade. So
yes,
that's not for you guys, but everything else.
Yeah.
Cigar things, they can get accessories but you still recommend everybody first go, if you have a local retailer nearby,
please
check out your local retailer, see what products they have from Paleo, Zycar, Stinky, all the crazy stuff.
And the last one, sorry, Erik Espinosa. Espinosa will be here.
Oh, Espinosa's here. Oh, cool.
Yeah, how could you forget Erik?
That's a good lineup.
Yeah.
So you have La Aurora, Villiger,
Crown Heads,
Espinosa, Crown Heads,
La Aurora, and Espinosa.
And then you also obviously have Conspiracy, I imagine.
Yes.
So very cool, man. Good stuff. And what date is that?
September 7th. It's a Saturday from 11 to 4. So we've invited all retailers around the country. Hope to get a lot of Florida folks so you can just jump in a car, come down, have a great time, meet all the great manufacturers that are going to be here, see our team here. We're actually going to have an open house where you can actually get an entire tour of this. You can pick stuff up and take it home with you if you want, or we'll ship it to you. The cigar manufacturers are launching new products, new sizes, all that. They're still working on stuff, so I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag quite yet, but they're going to be launching stuff just like a regular trade show.
Yeah, exciting, man, exciting stuff.
So it's exciting for us because, it's a very entrepreneurial spirit that we have here is, just building these great brands. I mean, we just acquired the Stinky brand, which we distributed, so these moves are happening. We've got the cigar brand as well. And then we also have a wine brand, which is...
Yeah, Pistolina. We haven't tried it.
Yep.
We haven't tried it, but I think we can fix that.
Yes, we can.
All right, but I don't want to leave that out. So Pistolina, how do they get information about that? And give us a brief...
So lapistolina.com or lapistolinawine.com. Let's show this. This is really, really cool. The reference you can kind of get pretty quickly if you see the tape on the little pistol.
Yeah.
Michael Giordano. Okay, so here's kind of his mentality. He wanted to do a wine brand, and so he picked the best time in the world to launch something during COVID.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we've got a bunch of different brands. This is a 2016 Napa, which is just a very unique blend of wine. Amazing finish. Just as soon as you take a sip, you're like, wow, man. I don't drink a lot anymore, but when I first tried this, I'm like, oh, man. I'm like, I just absolutely love this. He's done a Super Tuscan out of Italy. And so for Super Tuscans basically you have to use an Italian wine, but you use varietals from around the world. So that's a very unique thing.
Yeah, this is the Super Tuscan.
Yeah, which is just phenomenal. So meat eaters, if you have any rich foods that you like, this just pairs beautifully with it. He just came out with a Prosecco from Veneto, Italy, which is absolutely fantastic. So it's got to be super chilled, but just amazing during the summer. And then he's working on a new release right now that I'm not going to talk about. That's going to be hitting very shortly. So,
and so where are those of it, like on the retail side, Total Wine and things like that?
So right now it's at Primo's. It's a bunch of restaurants all throughout Florida. We're concentrating on Florida right now, but Primo Wines is one of our big supporters that carries it. There's a bunch of restaurants around town. Los Alas, Maccabi carries this as well. Casa de Monte Cristo and Boca carries the La Pasolina, the 16. And a bunch of other spots around there.
Have you tried pairing any? Pairing the Conspiracy with the Pistolino?
I have, and it's just every one of these works really well. Funny story: we actually went to a lunch here at a place in Weston called Aquilina, and they carry all the wines. So here we are at lunchtime, and we're just shooting through these. And I don't really drink a lot, but it was a very unique experience to actually pair food with the wine, and then we were able to smoke cigars at the same time. So that experience was just phenomenal because you're putting all the senses together.
Yeah.
Obviously, with food and the wines, we're just pairing beautifully with the dishes.
Awesome.
So it's been a fun ride. Yeah. Very fun.
Man, thank you again. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us. I'm so happy.
Giving us your time. I know you're a busy guy, so I really appreciate it. Now that you're not on the beach, just hanging out and working out. You're busy now, so I really appreciate it. Thank you again.
Eric, thank you. And congratulations on 18 years.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah. Thanks for watching Cigar Snob on YouTube. If you like what you saw, like, comment, and subscribe. There's a lot of content on our channel. And we also print a magazine, so subscribe to that at cigarsnob.com. But in the meantime, catch you on the next one.